If you really love to learn and you enjoy synthesizing new information without just drowning in information overload, you've probably thought about the whole internet business thing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we all have, right?
Yeah, and you'd think building a massive digital empire requires you to be like some kind of hacker.
Yeah.
Someone huddled in a dark room writing complex HTML, manipulating algorithms, uncovering some secret backdoor to endless wealth.
Right, that pervasive myth of the online economy. It's a really seductive idea, too. We like to think success in the digital space is all about mastering the machine, finding the right software or somehow gaming the system.
But when you actually look at the mechanics of a successful digital business, that whole hacker image just, it completely falls
It
apart.
really does.
So today we are taking a deep dive into a comprehensive and I guess slightly obscure manual called Internet Marketing Integration. And the mission for this deep dive isn't to learn coding. It's to uncover a really surprising truth from the source material.
Which is that making money online relies almost entirely on, while mastering fundamental offline human skills.
Yes. Okay, let's unpack this because the manual essentially flips the script on the whole industry right from the start.
It does. It insists that before you even think about building this, digital empire, you have to completely tear down the easy money allure of the internet.
Right, people descend into the digital space thinking it's a get-rich-quick scheme.
Exactly. Like an automated ATM, you just plug it in and cash comes out. But the manual starts by throwing a bucket of cold water on that idea, demanding a massive mindset shift.
It's a necessary reality check,
Right.
honestly.
Yeah.
The text explicitly states that internet marketing is a real, grueling business. It's not magic. It actually made me think about the mechanics of opening a physical brick-and-mortar bakery.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, like if you lease a space on a busy street, you don't just unlock the front door, sit behind the register, and expect to become a millionaire by Tuesday. You still need a genuinely good product, a solid revenue model, and you have to actually convince the foot traffic to walk in and buy a croissant.
Right, and the underlying mechanics don't change just because the medium changes. In a physical bakery, your foot traffic is somewhat passive. People just happen to walk by your window.
Sure.
But online, your foot traffic is active. It's driven by search intent and social media algorithms. But the fundamental conversion remains identical. You still have to provide value and earn trust.
Which is why the manual immediately pivots to this concept of critical thinking.
Ah.
Because, once you accept that you're running a real business, you are instantly bombarded by thousands of gurus.
Oh, the gurus.
Yeah, they're all trying to sell you their proprietary secret system for success.
What's fascinating here is that to survive that landscape, the source advocates for adopting a strictly scientific way of thinking.
Right. Chapter 4, I think.
Yeah, chapter 4. This means approaching your business with the rigorous skepticism of a researcher. You have to start by recognizing your own cognitive biases. As business owners, we naturally want to believe the easy answer, right? Or the data that validates our brilliant idea.
Totally. We want to be right.
Exactly. But critical thinking requires you to actively hunt for contradicting data.
And the text highlights how one specific cognitive trap-confusing correlation with causation just absolutely destroys online marketing budgets. We all know the basic rule, right? Just because A happens before B doesn't mean A caused B.
Right, there could be a C factor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But applied to digital marketing, it's insidious. Like you might change the color of your website's checkout button from blue to red, and the next day your sales spike by 20%.
And the immediate biased assumption is that the red button drove the sales.
Right. You sit there thinking you're some kind of conversion genius.
But a scientific marketer looks for that hidden third variable. Maybe a major influencer happened to link to your product on the exact same day, or a holiday weekend organically drove up shopping volume across the entire internet.
Yeah, and if you blindly trust that surface-level correlation without analyzing the deeper mechanics, you'll start making terrible strategic decisions based on false premises.
You'll be painting everything red and wondering why you're going bankrupt.
Exactly. But let me play devil's advocate here for a second. If we're supposed to be out there constantly gathering contradicting data and aggressively questioning every single metric and hunting for hidden variables, how do you actually operate?
It sounds exhausting.
Right. With the sheer volume of information on the internet, you'd succumb to severe analysis paralysis before you even launched a single product.
Well, the manual anticipates that paralysis, and it provides a very rigid framework to cut through the noise. It dictates that you must use statistics as your core evidence, but, and this is key, you have to relentlessly question the biases of the people providing those statistics.
So look at who's handing you the numbers.
Exactly. Who funded the study you're reading? What software is that marketing blog ultimately trying to sell you?
That's the money.
Always. And the ultimate safeguard against paralysis is the rule of three. Always seek multiple independent sources before making a strategic pivot.
Okay, so 3 separate sources.
Right. If 3 entirely separate, credible data streams are pointing to the exact same behavioral trend, the statistical probability of it being a fluke drops dramatically. Then you can move forward with actual confidence.
Okay, so assuming you've got this scientific mindset locked in, you are protecting yourself from the hype. The next logical hurdle is figuring out what to actually build your business around, right? You have to find a cultural wave before you can ride it to a profit.
And this gets us into Chapter 5, the research phase. The methods outlined for finding these waves are highly practical. They focus on observing raw human curiosity. Now, the manual references older tools, things like Google Hot Trends, Yahoo Buzz, Ask.com.
Wow, ask.com, that takes me back.
I know, right? Obviously, those specific platforms are artifacts of an older internet, but the underlying mechanism they represent is timeless.
Because the technology evolves, but human psychology stays exactly the same.
Precisely. Today, you might use modern analytics or social media search bars, but the goal is what the source calls topic density. You are looking at the specific, granular questions people are typing into search engines late at night.
You aren't just looking to see if people care about, like, fitness.
No. You are looking to see if thousands of people are suddenly asking how to fix lower back pain from sitting at a desk. Once you identify that specific pain point, you can author content that directly answers it.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. Because if we're talking about advanced digital trend spotting, you'd expect a suite of expensive software. But the most brilliant, entirely counterintuitive piece of research advice the manual gives is totally analog.
Oh, this is my favorite part.
To validate a digital trend, it tells you to go stand in front of a physical magazine rack at your local grocery store.
It is a phenomenal strategy because it leverages corporate economics as a proxy for your own research.
It really is. I mean, you're trying to conquer the digital frontier, and you're standing in aisle 4 looking at the covers of Cosmopolitan, Time, and Men's Health. But the business logic is flawless. Think about the overhead required to publish a physical magazine.
Millions of dollars.
Exactly. Millions in editorial staff, printing, distribution. If 3 different publishers are willing to bet their front cover, which is their primary sales driver, on a specific health trend or financial worry, they've already spent the millions of dollars required to validate that trend for you.
They've done all the heavy lifting. You just reap the localized data. You look at what headlines intersect across different demographics. If a financial magazine and a lifestyle magazine are both running cover stories on, say, side hustles, you instantly know that economic anxiety is a broad, heavily validated subject that people are desperate to read about.
It is offline research securing an online profit. So, you've identified the trend. You know what people are starving for. Now you have to write the content. And the text offers a piece of advice here in Chapter 2 that fundamentally breaks what most people consider the golden rule of the internet.
Yeah, this one throws a lot of people off.
It explicitly instructs you to provide links that send your readers away to other helpful websites.
It's a really tough pill to swallow for new marketers.
Hold on. If the goal is to build an audience and generate revenue, sending them away via external links seems like digital suicide. I mean, you're intentionally spiking your own bounce rate, which is the metric showing how fast people leave your site just to give away your hard-earned traffic to a competitor. Why on earth would you do that?
Because hoarding attention is a short-term strategy that inevitably fails. If we look at the underlying mechanics of audience building, it's about the long game of authority. The manual's philosophy is rooted in how human memory works.
Okay, how so?
Well, readers remember the entity that curated the good information, not necessarily the entity that hosted it. Oh, so you become the trusted filter in an ocean of garbage.
Exactly. If you try to trap a reader on your page with mediocre padded content just to keep their eyeballs on your ads, they will eventually leave and never return. They'll recognize the trap.
Nobody likes feeling trapped.
Right. But if you become the definitive hub, the trusted guide who points them to the absolute best, most comprehensive resources, even if those resources belong to someone else, you build immense, unshakable trust.
Yeah.
When that user has a problem next week, they won't go to a search engine. They will come directly back to you because you proved that you prioritize their solution over your own immediate ad revenue.
That shifts the entire paradigm. You aren't just a creator, you are a digital curator. But the source also gives a very stern warning about what kind of original content actually builds that trust. It addresses the trap of authenticity. Readers arrive at your site looking for utility. They want actionable data, a recipe, a home improvement schematic, a tax strategy. What they do not want are endless diary entries about your personal life, how cute your kids are, or what new trick your dog, Fido, just learned.
The dreaded Fido trap. It is
Yeah.
so easy to fall into.
It is. The Fido trap happens because creators confuse parasocial relationships with actual value delivery.
Right.
The manual emphasizes that finding your unique, authentic voice is critical, but you must apply that voice strictly to things that provide tangible utility to the reader. Your personality should flavor the information, not replace it.
Flavor, not replace. I like that.
And on a purely mechanical level, it rigorously demands the use of spell check. It sounds rudimentary, but nothing shatters the illusion of authority faster than a definitive guide littered with basic typos.
Okay, let's take a step back and look at the foundation we've built so far in this deep dive. You've adopted a critical, scientific mindset to avoid correlation traps. You've researched validated trends using digital analytics and the economic proxies of physical magazine racks. You've written highly curated, authoritative content that avoids self-indulgence.
You basically have a pristine digital storefront.
Right. But that brings up a glaring issue. A storefront without a community is just a billboard in the desert.
Yeah.
You can have the best content in the world, but if no one in your industry knows who you are, you're writing in a void. You have to build trust directly with peers and potential partners, which means stepping away from the keyboard and actually interacting with human beings.
Which is why the manual dedicates significant space to the art of offline networking. For a lot of people who gravitated toward internet marketing specifically to hide behind a screen, this is a massive pain point.
It really is. I mean, going to a conference, terrifying for some. But the way the text approaches networking is fascinating. It basically turns it into a highly structured algorithm.
Yes, it really does.
It reads like instructions for speed dating, but for professional problem solving. It dictates a very strict rule of engagement. You limit your interactions to just 5 to 10 minutes per person. You have a brief exchange, you collect a business card, and you deliberately move on.
And they even script a surprisingly blunt icebreaker for you.
Oh yeah, you literally walk up and say, "Hi, I'm your name. I see your name is their name. I love to find out what individuals do, so what do you do?"
It feels almost robotic on the surface.
Oh,
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, let's look at the psychology of why this highly structured approach is actually brilliant for building relationships.
okay.
When you walk up to a stranger at a networking event, their internal threat level goes up. They are immediately wondering, is this person going to pitch me? Are they going to trap me in a boring conversation for an hour?
They're looking for the escape hatch before you even say hello.
Always. But by adhering to a strict 10-minute limit, you implicitly signal that you respect their time. You remove the social anxiety of being trapped. And by using that specific icebreaker, asking what they do, you immediately let them talk about the subject they are most comfortable with themselves.
People do love talking about themselves.
Exactly. The goal of a networking event, according to the manual, is never to close a deal or secure a client that day. Trying to harvest immediately is where most people fail.
You're just planting seeds.
Exactly. You are establishing a baseline of comfort and non-threatening rapport. The actual relationship, the harvest, begins the next day when you send a brief, personalized follow-up email referencing a specific detail from your 10-minute chat.
So networking is planting seeds one by one. But if you want to scale that trust, you have to turn to public speaking, which is broadcasting those seeds to a massive audience. And again, for a manual ostensibly about digital integration, it spends an incredible amount of time analyzing the physical, biological human body.
Because the mind and the body are inextricably linked. And public speaking triggers a profound, involuntary physiological stress response.
Yeah, your brain perceives a room full of staring eyes as a literal predator threat, right? And it floods your system with cortisol.
Precisely. The manual specifically details how this tension manifests mechanically. Like, you might unknowingly clench your teeth or feel a rigid tension creeping up your forearms and locking your shoulders.
And the remedies they prescribe to combat this aren't just mental mantras. They are intense somatic exercises.
You're very physical.
Yeah. On the day of the speech, the manual instructs you to waggle your arms wildly, like a competitive diver shaking out their muscles before hitting the board.
Just flapping around in the green room.
Literally, it tells you to position your fingers at the corners of your jaw, press into the muscle, and knead it to physically force the joint to loosen, followed by a massive, audible sigh.
These aren't just quirky warm-ups. They are mechanical resets for your nervous system. If your physical body is rigid and vibrating with panic, your audience will subconsciously detect that rigidity.
Right, they will feel tense because you are tense. By actively manipulating your muscles, forcing the jaw to unclench, forcing the lungs to fully empty, you are manually overriding the fight-or-flight response. You're sending a biological signal to your brain that you are safe.
But let's be real here. Even if you do the competitive diver arm waggle in the green room, you step on stage and you're still staring at a sea of strangers. How can a speaker actually connect with a room full of strangers when they are internally terrified?
The source shares a few powerful psychological tools to break the fourth wall. First, remember the audience is fallible. You have to humanize the blurry mass in front of you. You make deliberate eye contact and smile at one specific individual until they smile back.
Just one person.
Just one. That micro-connection grounds you. But the most potent tool the manual suggests is the strategic use of radical honesty.
I love this concept. How does it work in practice? Well, in a digital landscape where everyone is projecting a flawless, heavily edited persona, vulnerability is a shock to the system. If you step to the microphone and your hands are shaking, the text says you should simply admit your nervousness out loud to the audience.
Just own it.
Exactly. Say, I'm incredibly excited to be here, but I have to admit I'm terrified right now. Or if you click to the wrong slide and mess up your presentation, don't try to smoothly cover it up. Laugh at your own mistake.
Admitting a flaw is actually a massive power move.
It instantly destroys the artificial barrier between the infallible expert on stage and the audience in the seats. It signals that you don't take your ego too seriously. You become relatable. And trust accelerates immensely when an audience sees that you are just as human and fallible as they are.
It's incredible. Okay, so let's connect the circuit here. All of this hard work, the scientific data analysis, the curated content, the 10-minute networking boundaries, the vulnerable public speaking, it has finally paid off.
You've made it.
You have successfully driven traffic, you have customers on your website, credit cards in hand, ready to buy. But a massive influx of customers presents an entirely new problem. How do you fulfill their expectations without destroying your own sanity?
Which brings us to customer service and the absolute necessity of relaxation.
Right.
The manual makes a vital distinction here about the ruthlessness of the digital economy. In a physical store, if the checkout line is a little long or a product is out of stock, a charming manager with a warm smile and an apology can usually smooth over the friction.
Sure, they hand you a coupon and you're fine.
Right. But online, you are an anonymous seller. Your charisma cannot save a broken checkout link. Only flawless performance can.
The internet offers zero friction tolerance. If a customer clicks a drop-down menu to select a sweater size and the page freezes, they don't look for a manager. They just close the tab and buy from your competitor.
Which is why the text insists that you must rigorously, routinely test your own site's navigation. You have to walk through every single micro-interaction as if you were the most impatient customer on earth. Making the act of buying easy is paramount. Furthermore, the manual stresses the importance of providing multiple contact methods. Email, live chat, phone numbers, feedback forms, so customers feel supported.
So what does this all mean? If I am running a small, lean operation, and I offer 6 different ways for customers to contact me, phone, chat, email, carrier pigeon, won't I just get completely overwhelmed? I mean, I can't staff a live chat 24/7 if I'm also writing the content and doing the research.
This raises an important question, and it brings us to the source's golden rule of customer service. It is second-rate customer service to promise more than you can deliver.
That is profound.
It really is. If you offer a live chat widget on your homepage because it looks professional, but a customer types a desperate question into it and sits there staring at a blinking cursor for 20 minutes because no one is monitoring it, you haven't provided service.
You've just made them mad.
You have actively created a profoundly negative, frustrating experience. The text advises that you should fiercely limit your contact channels to only the ones you can actively, reliably, and swiftly manage. Quality of response dictates loyalty, not quantity of channels.
And what about automation? because the instinct for a busy owner is to just set up an autoresponder for every incoming email.
The source warns strongly against relying on them. We all know the feeling of sending an urgent customer support email and 3 seconds later receiving a robotic, "Your message is very important to us. We will respond in 24 to 48 hours."
It makes you feel managed, not heard.
Precisely. Autoresponders are just digital placeholders. They tell the buyer the server received the data packet, but they offer zero actual resolution. Customized, empathetic answers to unique questions are the only things that generate real customer loyalty.
But juggling all of that, the meticulous site testing, the personalized emails, the constant content curation, it generates immense psychological and physical fatigue, which is why the manual doesn't end with a grand strategy for scaling your business. It ends with a chapter entirely devoted to the owner's sanity and physiological relaxation.
Because it operates on a simple truth, a burnout marketer is an entirely ineffective marketer. If the biological organism running the digital machine breaks down, the revenue stops.
Yeah. The manual provides a highly specific 10-minute relaxation routine for business owners, and it's fascinating because it's based on progressive muscle relaxation. It's practically a manual unwinding of the specific physical damage that staring at screens all day causes.
It's very intentional.
Yeah, it instructs you to find a quiet space and physically lie down on a mat on your back. The floor is important because it grounds the spine. You start by recalibrating your breathing. A slow, deep inhale for a count of 10 seconds, a slight hesitation, and an exhale for 10.
You are intentionally slowing the heart rate and signaling the parasympathetic nervous system to take over.
Exactly. Then, you target the specific areas devastated by digital work. You start with the eyes, you slightly clench them like you're squinting at a bright light, hold that active tension for 5 seconds, and then fully release.
Right.
Then you move to the jaw. You clench your teeth firmly for 5 seconds, and then let the jaw completely drop open.
We hold a terrifying amount of microtension in our facial muscles when we spend 8 hours a day squinting at glowing rectangles. Actively clenching and releasing forces those tiny muscles to reset.
Then it targets the posture. You actively push your shoulders down toward your feet, hold for 5, and release. For the lower back, which is where office chairs do the most damage, you pull your knees up until your feet are flat, and you intentionally press the curve of your lower back flat into the floor for 5 seconds.
Wow.
Finally, you point your toes upward toward your shins, hold, and release. It is a systematic, full-body scan that forces the tension out, section by section.
It's a stark reminder that you cannot decouple the health of your physical body from the health of your digital business.
Which perfectly frames the manual's final, overarching conclusion. After walking you through critical thinking, trend analysis, content curation, networking, speaking, and customer service, the source leaves you with one vital piece of advice for avoiding overwhelm.
Master one single strategy at a time. The text explicitly states that the feeling of drowning in the digital space comes from a deficiency of skills, usually because an owner is trying to execute 10 different strategies at once.
Right.
You don't have to be on every platform or master every analytic tool from day one. You pick one strategy, focus your entire effort on it until you are an absolute authority, and only then do you move on to the next.
It is incredibly grounding advice. You master the fundamentals first. And as we've seen throughout this deep dive, those fundamentals are rarely about technological wizardry. They are entirely about clear communication, rigorous logic, honoring the time of your customer, and taking care of your own physical body.
Internet marketing integration reveals that doing business online is ultimately just doing business. It's timeless human psychology, merely applied through a digital medium.
And that leaves us with a pretty profound thought to ponder as we wrap up. We are moving into an era where the internet is becoming increasingly automated. As generative AI floods the digital space with perfect, synthetically generated content, flawless code, and infinitely optimized algorithms, the digital landscape is going to become endlessly crowded and artificially pristine.
It's already happening.
It is. So if the ultimate currency of online business is actually just human empathy and trust, then won't these raw, offline, soft skills like genuinely networking, looking someone in the eye, curating with actual care, and having the courage to admit your own flaws on stage, weren't those raw human imperfections eventually become your absolute rarest and most valuable commodities of all?
It's a fascinating paradox. The more synthetic and flawless the technology becomes, the more of a premium the market will place on authentic human connection.
The analytics can only show us the footprints. At the end of the day, it's the human heartbeat behind the screen that actually drives the business forward. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep learning, keep questioning, and we'll catch you next time.